It's always a bit awkward. There's a bit of a lag now. We have to guess when it's gone live on LinkedIn with this integration, which is probably about now, I'm guessing. So we are live. Just for those coming in now, it will take a few seconds whilst this catches up with LinkedIn. Thanks for joining the webinar today. Talking about all things AI within L&D. I'm joined by two brilliant customers of ours in two very different industries. Here to have a very quick, informal conversation about the use of AI within L&D. We're going to do some live sharing of screens and jumping into both British Airways and Interpath sites, how they use Thrive with some of the features that we've recently deployed into the platform. So for the next 20 minutes, we're going to be talking things all AI. Please feel free to drop any questions into the chat, and both Ronnie and Scott and myself will be really excited to answer them. So first things first, let's start with some introductions. I'll start with Ronnie. Over to you.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Ronnie Clark. I manage the Skills Academy here at British Airways. So that is kind of looking after all non-mandatory skills and personal development learning.
Perfect. And Scott?
Yep, thanks for that, Josh. Hi everybody, my name's Scott. I work at Interpath as a learning development specialist. My role is actually quite 360, so I could be doing coordination, administration, project management, product management for our current Thrive platform, as well as being an L&D business partner. And I've been at Interpath now since May 2024.
Perfect. Yeah, Ronnie, you've been live with Thrive for a little bit longer than Scott. Scott's not implemented it for not too long, right? But it's now in the business, which is exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We're coming up to almost 2 years now, so
yeah, for sure.
Really good journey.
I think with that, it's interesting. The last 2 years, you know, OpenAI kind of came onto the scene with ChatGPT, and then since then there's been a tsunami of kind of new tools on the scene. I think every vendor in the LMS, LXP space, HR tech space is talking a lot about AI, and you know, there's lots of positives to that. I think we're all kind of looking to see how AI can create efficiencies, enhance the learner experience, and also help the admin experience as well, right? So today it'll be really interesting to get into some of that. And I guess just to open it up to the both of you, maybe Ronnie to start with, kind of how has the use of AI, not just within Thrive, but other tools that you use across the ecosystem, really started to transform how you approach L&D at British Airways when it comes to programs, designing things, delivering things? Like, what's the general change that you've seen there?
Yeah, I think it's twofold for us. The first part being that kind of more administrative kind of element. In my role, we're constantly going out to different stakeholders, speaking to people, learning about what their learning needs are. And in the past, it's just been a case of kind of taking as many notes and trying to remember as much as possible. But where it's really helped me personally, administratively, is kind of recording those conversations and then being able to summarize and then kind of have a bit of back and forth with the kind of ChatGPT or whatever platform it is that you're using to kind of brainstorm ideas. And now that they've started introducing the kind of more voice, don't even know how to describe it, but you know, there's kind of where you can have a bit of a conversation with it, going back and forth. I find that's really helpful for kind of brainstorming and almost ideating sessions. And then the second part to it for me is my team don't generate a lot of learning content from scratch. We work with third-party providers to kind of curate content. So a couple of AI tools have come in recently that allow us to answer a couple of questions and pull together learning pathways really quickly. So we're able to kind of put content out to the user a lot quicker, get feedback on that, and then iterate from there. Mm-hmm. So we're staying kind of at the forefront of the trends and the needs of what our kind of business wants to be learning.
So it's definitely been more of a help from the admin side, the actual L&D team, rather than the learner side. You kind of started with that first and then started to consider the learner side, which is interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've got no doubt that things in terms of content creation will continue to kind of advance and we'll get more into it there. But at the moment, it is that kind of business partnering consultancy piece that it really helps us with.
Makes sense. And Scott, what about you for Interpath? You know, you've probably been live with Thrive now for under a year. When you launched the platform, we wouldn't have had really any new AI features within the platform. How has that changed your kind of mindset and approach when it comes to all things L&D, from the designing, the build of the platform, and those types of things with the use of it now?
Yeah, so similar to just touching base, Ronnie, you mentioned about kind of the team. We use Teams across the business as well, and being a project manager and also being on those kind of long calls, just to focus on the AI as part of Teams as well. You know, recording those conversations has really helped me out, because unfortunately, I can't, like, for example, talk to you guys and make notes at the same time. I just can't do both. So that's really helped me out there from a Teams point of view, and as kind of a new project manager, because I've been doing it around 2 to 3 years as well, and obviously a big role of project management has been able to note take at the same time as well as listen in. So yeah, just a bit of a connection there. At Interpath, I am part of a lean team, so there's only myself, there's only Diane, who's our head of L&D as well, and to be able, I mentioned at the start of the call that my role is quite 360, so I'm expected to be an administrator, coordinator, and those project manager and business part at the same time, as well as then create content on top of that. And also I work with our compliance team quite closely, and they're quite a lean team as well, and part of their job role is probably not actually around content creation, but they've got to do that as part of their job role and part of the technical aspect of training as well. So we've certainly benefited from, for example, looking at other, I know we're going to talk about this later on as well, is looking at what else is out there, but also it was great news to hear that content creation has now become, you know, part of one of the features, and we'll be looking at using that more often over the next 12 months. Some of the features within our Thrive platform that we basically are benefiting from a lot is the AI summary. We upload a lot of technical training. We're probably around 80% technical training versus kind of 20% kind of soft skills training within our platform currently. And the business will send me through a lot of stuff, and it's great. We encourage them to, because obviously they're engaged, that they're creating their own content and sending it through. A lot of the content they create, though, is usually a PDF document, a PowerPoint presentation document, or a recording of a Teams call that's just taken place. For the PowerPoint documents used to come through, it was a case of, can you upload it? And I had to go back several times to say, yeah, great, send me a description, tell me about your training so I can put that onto the platform. You just wouldn't get it, or because this isn't part of their job role, they would send you a one-liner, and you'd look at it and go, doesn't really, from reading that, it doesn't really make me want to go in there and watch that. So the AI summary has played a massive part in that, because obviously it reads the PowerPoint, creates me a bit of an AI summary, and I just literally copy and paste that and pop it in there. I'll send it back for them to review. I'm not sure they actually do, but from my point of view, I'm like, yeah, at least it's got a good description now attached to it.
And with all of this, how's it changed for the both of you in terms of using AI? Has it been challenging from a kind of business perspective in terms of like embracing it? Any implications on engaging with InfoSec teams, data processing, all that type of thing? Is it being really embraced from both organizations in terms of how you're using AI?
It's a really good question. I think in our learning design kind of space, we're given the freedom to kind of do it. But I will say that, you know, BA is we haven't fully defined our kind of AI policies, and that does restrict us sometimes, you know, especially trying to comply with GDPR and all sorts of things like that. So we may be a little bit behind where I think I'd like the whole organization to be, but in terms of what we've been allowed to do in our kind of teams, we've been kind of given complete freedom to just crack on with it and find the best use case, and we've been lucky.
Nice. Yes, I think it's a bit of a journey, isn't it? Is it the same for you, Scott, in terms of like dipping your toe in, starting it before rolling out wider?
Yeah, from an L&D point of view, we've always got InfoSec working alongside us anyway. So even with Thrive, when you started, you know, launching your AI features, just checking in with them to make sure that whichever version we're using from an AI point of view, that it was kind of acceptable at Interpath, and you know, that piece was all checked through. I think as a business, we are, again, just dipping our toe into different, I mentioned it before that I'm seeing all these emails coming through about kind of Interpath's now an alliance with another company that specializes in AI. I'm not going to talk about that because it's only literally just been announced. But it's nice to see the businesses actually, as I said, investing more into the AI. And I think from an L&D point of view as well, we're in the middle of our budget forecast at the moment, ready for our budget submission for the new financial year. And some of the things we put in, for example, for content creation, has been approved. So that is kind of a positive kind of outcome on the back of that. We seem to be kind of putting more stuff like that into the budget, our budget proposal, and it's getting approved as well from that top level.
Nice. That sounds good. Yeah, we're seeing like lots of customers on different scales. Some are just can't use AI, not allowed business wide, and others are really embracing everything. And it's, you know, obviously very different across different industries. Hyper regulated industries such as British Airways are only going to be much harder to deploy that enterprise wide compared to, let's say, a 300 people startup in the fintech space who can be all in on these types of things. But it's nice that we can kind of test, adapt, and just trial features, right, in smaller environments before scaling it out as well. So thanks for your suggestions there and what you were sharing. I think, Ronnie, it'd be really cool if you could just maybe jump into the BA environment and just talk about some of the value, I guess, you've been getting from some of our features. Whilst you're bringing that up on the screen, you know, BA have been a customer for quite a while. We have lots of different AI features. They're not using all of them. And I think that's the beauty of it, right? You've just been testing the ones which give you the most value, perhaps more from the administrative side. And I think when Scott shares his screen in a bit, he'll be using slightly different features, which is quite a nice way of doing it. So over to you, Ronnie.
Yeah. Can you see my screen all right?
Yeah, all good.
Yep. Yeah, brilliant. I mean, I think Scott kind of perfectly summarized one of the most helpful ones in terms of that pathway summary kind of tool. Like you say, it's really difficult to get this kind of information sometimes, but the amount of detail that this tool goes into, I was playing around with this earlier, and we've got quite a few kind of like external speakers as part of this pathway, and it even kind of starts to name them and tell us kind of what they're talking about. So I've been really, really impressed by that. It's super impressive as well, because part of the information that it's pulling from here, I believe is from the actual video that's embedded into this pathway. So I'm really impressed with how it's able to find that information. And then the other thing that's really important for us is kind of on the more administrative side is in the kind of auto merge of tag suggestion, similar to what Scott was saying, that we're a really lean team, so we allow kind of other areas of the business to access Thrive and have kind of administrative capabilities to kind of create communities of learning for their specific area. But that means we get a mess of these kind of tags and skills, and Excel spelled 10 different ways, which, you know, it is my job to kind of oversee and administrate, but it's time consuming and it's hard to kind of keep up with it. So you know, and I've only found this tool recently, last couple of weeks, but this I've had great fun playing around with it and seeing great value in it. It's going to come up with some suggestions in a minute, I hope.
And the reason we designed that actually was one of the developers' ideas. It was just like large global organizations, often ones where they have a focus on user-generated content. Of course, users can post content and create their own tags if they want that to be an option. So we just said, actually, sometimes there might be duplicate tags, you know, like a large organization with 10,000 people, decentralized L&D model, tags might be duplicated. So can't we just merge them? And what you see on the screen is that right? So I'm sure it saves quite a bit of time, doesn't it, Ronnie, from your side?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this morning I've even taken out ones of Excel spelt 3 different ways with, you know, 2L by accident and stuff like that. And then even down to people saying Microsoft Excel versus just Excel and things like that. And it's because we have so many people doing that kind of administrative work behind it. But I found this, really, really helpful.
That's great. And then Scott, from your side, do you want to dive into your site and just share some of the bits?
Yeah, of course. Let me just switch that over. Can you see my screen?
It'll be coming through in a second, I'm sure. There was a bit of a lag. There we go. It's coming through.
There you go.
Oh, you've got the old dark mode enabled. Nice.
Yeah, I've been trying to push this out when I do kind of my roadshow around the business. I do start with actually, you know, when I'm providing these demos to say to them, if you prefer dark mode, this is how you do it, because I do prefer the dark mode. It just makes everything pop,
Yeah.
from an image point of view. The first thing I want to touch base on is actually the AI assistant, because we've only just started to use it, and we've built a new section on the platform on the homepage called Interpath Articles. And again, the L&D newsletter is something we've just introduced this year as well. So we've got January and February is now published on here, because we're becoming more and more of a global company. English is the business language, but I've been mentioning to my colleagues out in, for example, in France, and we've just opened an office in Germany as well, that they now can, if they would like to, read the article in their native tongue. So just quickly on the learning and development newsletter for February time, as I said, I've just been kind of instructing them how to use this, but we've been using this and just basically, instructing on, pop in your, translate to French, for example, just in case anyone's not used this as of yet. And it's just been great. And as I said, I've had some feedback already for some of our colleagues over in France, for example, that this has just been a great feature to use. We've got some, we have got some colleagues out there as well working in France at the moment that are just on that journey as well with learning English, for example. So this will really help them out. We're going to try and see as well if we can link that in with our mandatory training as well, because we do a lot of mandatory training, which is all again in English. Is how can we improve that user journey for them as well? Because again, from a completion of that mandatory training, there might be a bit of a trend there with these individuals because they're struggling to read the language, for example, that might be impacting kind of our completions reports as well. So we're going to continue on that journey with the translation piece with them. The other things as well, just similar to what Ronnie mentioned as well, is so if I go into our Explore page, actually, the business is split into kind of two parts. So that's advisory and restructuring insolvency. Again, very technical, subject matter expert is required to construct this kind of training. And again, if I get anything that's sent through to me, for example, if we go into probably a bad example, let me try and find a document somewhere. I bet they're all links now, aren't they?
Always the case when you do a demo.
Always the way. I'll tell you what, there's a pathway here. So if I go into this, as again, just as I mentioned before, and as Ronnie's mentioned as well, it's so easy now. It's actually to just hit generate AI summary. Yeah. And I think probably the description here has actually come from the obviously this is based on our Wi-Fi speed, but just being able to take that. I do run my eyes across it just to make sure it is kind of, the quality is there. So, but again, I'll share that with actually the person that sent me through that content just to double check to make sure it's okay. But yeah, it's so easy now just to copy and paste that and throw that into the description part.
I think that's how it's been for us so far in terms of AI. There's lots coming on the horizon for us. We've got a really big release coming for learning technologies on the 3rd week of April, which is around the assistant side of things, which Scott just shared there. But for us, a lot of these tools are just really light, very simple solutions, right? Which just enhance the learner experience. That's all we're really looking to achieve. They're like, how do we make it easy for people to jump in, get what they're needing, and then get back to work, right? So generating summaries, translations, those types of things, a really powerful way to do that. And I think, Ronnie, to your point earlier, the admin side of things is definitely key as well. We speak to so many L&D professionals who might be juggling multiple roles. To your point, Scott, you're doing delivery, building, admin, project management. How do we streamline that to save you time as well? So I think that's really, really important moving forward too. Thanks for that. Thanks for sharing yours, Scott, as well. Appreciate that. I guess just to start wrapping up then, where do you see things heading in terms of how you both use AI within L&D right now? In terms of what applications you want to bring for that, but also the general trends. Like, do you see more of a focus on kind of content creation, or is it lighter tools like this? Is it more personalization, like adaptive? Like, what's your general consensus there? Maybe over to you, Ronnie, first.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're just about to embark on a massive initiative to become a skills-based organization, and part of that is going to be getting everyone to update their skills profiles in Thrive and their competency in different areas, and then we'll collect all of that data and then use AI to kind of analyze where the skills gaps lie, and then look to create learning for those kind of areas. So I think for me, I mean, the content creation is always going to be quite a skilled job. I think that we'll always see the need for designers, but I think that kind of more background administrative support element is what's going to really push us forward and enable us to move a lot quicker.
How about you, Scott?
I'm going to link mine into budget and try and stay positive with this. Again, I've mentioned it, I work in a lean team and we could do with an L&D administrator. But remember I was saying about the budget forecast, it's been a lot easier to get it across the line to say, actually, can we invest in a piece of, content? Sorry, can we invest in some software that covers content creation? Or can we invest in, instead of paying for coaches to come along to be part of our kind of management and leadership type programs, is we've been looking at a lot of AI coaching simulations. And I've got to be honest, I've been quite blown away by some of the avatars and the conversations I've been getting into with them. And it's just been amazing. And it's like, wow, the whole facial recognition, and it's just blows your mind really. But I think the impact of that is, for example, I'd love to get somebody, an L&D administrator as part of our team. But when you look at getting your budgets approved, for example, getting an AI piece of software approved has been a lot easier than, for example, getting an FTC L&D administrator approved. And I think for lean teams like the team I'm in, and Ronnie, you mentioned as well, you're in a lean team. I think investing in more and more softwares that specialize in AI probably is the way forward than actually getting more headcount. And I think a negative thing as well, again, this is just my opinion on this because I've worked also in bigger organizations with bigger L&D teams, is that from a bigger team, if you look at content creation and specific teams doing content creation, I have experienced and I have seen, more job cuts and those teams becoming more like lean teams because you can invest that money instead into a 12 months software license, for example. So yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I think our general direction of travel is going to be more of an assistant-driven side of things. How do we enable quick prompts to be made, which might support both the L&D administrator or team, it from an end learner perspective naturally, but then also support as well. So like, how do we start to have that integrated into an assistant so that end users can get support in terms of it kind of removes the traffic to your internal IT help desk. So there's lots of different ways we see this evolving. And naturally, AI is changing every week, right? There's new LLMs appearing, new solutions, which is really exciting, right? So it's just staying close to it in terms of how can we quickly test and trial these types of tools whilst maintaining governance, right? Which is still really important. I think most of the things that both Scott and Ronnie you've been sharing today, you still have full control over. You don't have to use it. You can select the model, like in our admin panel, you can select between OpenAI or a Gemini type LLM solution. So again, more flexibility there. And also turn it off and on per feature, which I think both of you have been doing. You're not turning on everything for AI and trying to boil the ocean. You're just starting small and then going from there. So look, I just want to say thank you both for joining, sharing your insights with everybody, jump into those sites. I'm sure lots of people got some ideas and value out of that. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining today. Any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. I'm sure Ronnie and Scott are available as well if you want to reach out with any ideas or sharing insights further. But yeah, thank you for your time, guys, and I'll see you both soon.
Great. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Ronnie.
Cheers. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.